Once again, welcome back. And this time, it's Focus Africa, our segment where we discuss, things bordering on the African continent. Now, today, there's a worrying situation inside of South Africa as we turn our attention where a wave of gun violence has escalated into a major crisis, especially for e-hailing drivers. Now, these drivers who rely on platforms like Uber and Bolt have taken to the streets to protest the rising crime rate, which has led to numerous attacks and robberies, often with deadly consequences. Now, many drivers now fear for their safety as criminals continue to target them, exacerbating an already dangerous security situation in parts of the country. And the crime wave has left e-hailing drivers vulnerable, with several incidents of carjackings and violent assaults making headlines.
Right. Now, this protest comes at a critical time as the South African government struggles to contain the violence and restore public confidence in law enforcement. Commuters, particularly in high-crime areas, are feeling the impact of these strikes, with limited transportation options leading to significant disruptions. But beyond the immediate effects on e-hailing services, the crisis points to larger issues plaguing the nation, including socio-economic challenges, lack of job opportunities, and a strained relationship between the public and the police.
Now we are joined by Milithemba Chris Nguni. He is with the e-hailing services, and he'll be talking to us about the situation currently in South Africa. Milithemba, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. We would like you to give us, an instant view of what exactly the situation is right now in South Africa regarding the protests, the e-hailing cab drivers, and the violence that they're experiencing.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Look, we've got a serious challenge as far as crime is concerned, and we are experiencing death as far as drivers are concerned, and this is happening on a daily basis. It's just fortunate that the recent incident was captured on camera. It has caught the attention of many. But to tell you, drivers are dying on a daily basis, where they are either being robbed by criminals, but also we've got challenges where we are attacked by our counterparts. There's issues of extortion. So there is a lot of killings. To just give you a broader view. So the week in which this incident where Gaza was shot, we've had 4 other incidents that we are aware of. And mind you, there are other incidents that happen without us getting to know about them.
And that's very sad indeed. Well, let's also talk about, gun violence. That is, there's a conversation that's being had on the sidelines of this violence that the e-hailing drivers are experiencing. Can you talk more a bit about that, and also the incident that occurred with the driver who's now been killed? And we understand that court proceedings are starting tomorrow, Monday.
Yeah, look, we've got a challenge with gun violence in the country, which has been there for some time, and it continues. And as e-hailing drivers, we are being robbed by people who are usually carrying guns, and it gets violent, and sometimes you are confused when they are robbing you, and your reaction ends up leading to you getting a shot, and most times you are shot dead. So this is a huge challenge that we have. But the biggest issue with e-hailing is that a lot of people can commit these crimes and get away with it. And that is part of the reason why we are experiencing so much a crime around e-hailing, with a lot of drivers getting killed.
Right. And might I ask about this e-hailing companies? I'm sure have they been able to employ a bit more security, functionalities to be able to secure the drivers? The issues like maybe life insurance, more in-car camera. I think that's a proper description for it. What other security measures are they employing to make sure that drivers who are under their companies are safe? Are you people advocating for recommendations like this?
Unfortunately, that's been our biggest challenge with the e-hailing companies. hence the protest that took place on Friday, where we are calling them to implement security measures. And we've been doing so for the longest time, and they seem to care less. And this is part of the reason why we are also urging our government to regulate them, whereby they will be compelled to implement security measures. They've had an attitude of saying, look, they did not bring crime in the country, in South Africa, they find crime here. And they've always pointed e-hailers to the police, which does not help the situation, because when you come to South Africa, you understand that it is a country with high crime rates, but you cannot leave your house unlocked or without burglar bars and so forth. These are security measures that you take personally, and worker safety is also something that is in our constitution. But what these companies have been doing is that they have not been taking those measures. The legal security measures that are there, we've had to fight for them, and your Uber has done much as far as implementing security measures, but you've got your Bolt and your InDrive who've not done much, because they don't verify the users, mostly the passengers. You look at the side of drivers, they do all the necessary screening where they take the fingerprints of the driver, the picture of the driver is there on the app. They also interview the drivers. But when it comes to passengers, you are able to just create an email address, sign up, request, and then after requesting, you rob a driver and you get away with it. There's no trace, which is part of the reason why these criminals have found a new way, easy way to rob drivers, get a smartphone, hijack a car, and so forth. So it remains a big issue, and you need to understand that currently the app companies themselves, they are not regulated in the country. We envy other countries like your Kenya and Nigeria who've taken a move into regulating these app companies. Unfortunately, in South Africa, it remains a different story.
Okay, now Chris, it's a very sad situation, and I understand the disparity when it comes to the driver-passenger dynamic here that you speak about. However, let's talk about Gaza's situation now. Gaza's case goes to court tomorrow, and I hear that there's a protest that's been organized asking for no bail. Can you tell us more about this situation?
Look, that's another issue that we have. We've got situations where criminals are sometimes apprehended, but then there's always catch and release that happens. And we've seen that a lot, where there is prima facie evidence, but at the end of the day, the criminals walk out. So you'd understand that our justice system, everyone has got a right to bail, but it is for the state to oppose the bail, given the evidence. And these are the people that, if you've looked at the footage, there wasn't any strangling between them and Gaza for it to institute the shooting that took place. These are dangerous people that shouldn't be part of the society. So this is what we are pushing to make sure that the prosecuting authority makes sure that these guys, this guy that has been caught does not get bail. Because these are people that when they are out, they go on to commit these crimes. And we also have got an issue of some of our authorities or police officers who are not trustworthy. They get involved in issues of bribes and so forth. So these criminals end up getting away with these issues. We've got a case for my brother who was also hijacked and shot. He was on board, and there was enough evidence and everything, but the police ended up saying that they've lost the evidence, and those criminals ultimately they were released. And then interestingly, in a month or two, they were caught again robbing e-hailing drivers. So this is a challenge that we have. So we're going out there tomorrow to push and make sure that there is no kind of a foul play that happens to have this criminal released.
It's always very interesting when we speak to other African countries on issues, and every single time, one of the pertinent key things that we take out of it is the underlining issue of corruption and, just distrust in the policing system and the security agencies. But I'd like for you to talk more about this case that you are protesting for, the death of Gaza and also the perpetrators of the crime. Who were the persons who did this? Can you tell us more about this case for the benefit of our viewers, please?
So Gaza was requested in the areas of Johannesburg, the CBD, in an area called Bertrams. And he was requested by these two guys. And on that trip, upon arrival, we're not sure whether they directed him to that area, because where they shot him, it is a dangerous corner that is known. So when they got there, apparently that's when now they started robbing him, which is what they usually do. They rob you either in the beginning of the trip or at the end of the trip. So with him, they started taking his belongings, and looking at the video, it looks like he was asking for his car keys, because usually when they rob you, they take your car keys. And that's when he got shot. And they then left the scene. Luckily, it was captured on footage. Now, what happened was that the incident happened on Wednesday afternoon, and the law enforcement, they then took part in hunting down these criminals, because it was all over on social media. It captured everyone, and they managed to apprehend one of the criminals, actually the shooter, in Soweto in a hostel, and the shooter is a 26-year-old Zamoguhle Ngubane. He was still wearing the same clothes as he was captured during the committing of the crime. So he will be appearing tomorrow. And
I think we've lost Militemba there, unfortunately. He's frozen as we hear. Unfortunately, a very unfortunate situation there regarding the cab driver that was shot, Gaza there. And that video, if you've seen it on social media, it's actually quite bad. Militemba, I hear you're back with us. Is he back with us? Yes. Okay, we would like to know real quick, regarding this perpetrator here, the person who shot the shooter, you say he's 26-year-old. What does this say? If 26-year-olds are wielding guns in public places and robbing cab drivers, what does this say regarding the state of crime in South Africa, state of unemployment, because this is a young person? Generally, what does that seem like in South Africa? Is there an unemployment crisis?
There is an unemployment crisis, but there is also a level of lack of morality. And like you said, this is a young person, and a lot of times it is these young people that are not yet mature. They've got no respect for life. If you look at my brother's case, who was also murdered, he was murdered by 17-year-olds. So you realize that a lot of them, they are young, they've got no respect for life, and they get hold of these guns that are lying around, but also they are also robbing security officers and police officers for these guns. And it remains a big issue in our country, that we as civilians trying to fend for our families, we end up being killed recklessly by these people.
I must say, my heart goes out to you. Our condolences for the loss of your brother. As we wrap up the show, because we have a press for time, I would like to ask you about the court proceedings for the perpetrator, the shooter, for the murder of Gaza. Does he have any previous criminal records? Tell us a bit more about him and the court proceedings for tomorrow, just quickly because we're out of time.
So we're not much sure about that information, but what I can tell you is that most of these criminals, it's not by coincidence. If you look at how brazen they were, you'd understand that this is someone who might have committed many other crimes. It might be that they have not been caught before, but tomorrow they will be given an opportunity to apply for bail, and then that's when we'll get to know more information about their profile, as the state will be, we're expecting the state to oppose the bail, and that's what we've been pushing for, to say they really need to make sure that he does not get bail tomorrow.
So finally, Militemba, let's talk about the individual cab drivers now, away from the courts for tomorrow and the protests. Are there any measures that individual cab drivers are taking to ensure their own safety?
Indeed. So we encourage all of the e-hailing drivers to belong in groups. Also ourselves as the council, to say drivers, they need to be vigilant at all times. They need to avoid these areas that are prevalent with crime. So we are usually sharing this information and encouraging them to be part of informative groups to get this information, avoid people that are suspicious. Unfortunately, e-hailing drivers, the app platforms do not allow drivers to carry weapons, and we remain vulnerable because of that. It becomes unfortunate, but we're also giving each other backups. When you're feeling unsafe, you share live location to other drivers, then you get escorted, or you are being checked often until you are off that area or that trip. So these are other measures that we are implementing on ourselves. But they are not enough, because we've been doing them for the longest time. And these criminals will always find ways to outmaneuver these measures that we are taking.
Well, that's been quite the insightful one. We hope to see what would happen. We'll be on the lookout tomorrow. Definitely, our correspondent will be live to just, continue to follow this situation as it unfolds. But many thanks for doing this with us. We appreciate you for coming on. And once again, our condolences for the loss of your brother.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.